Hi, I'm here with Fleur and Spain. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go. So my name is Fleur de Lethal. I've been skating for, it depends on if you count bouting and non-bouting years, so somewhere between 6 and 9 years. Um, Started at Nashville, moved to Austin to skate with Texas Roller Girls, where I became a hot rod honey and eventually joined the travel team and skated with the Chainsaws, formerly the Firing Squad. And so now I'm a trainer. I train other people to skate. I'm also a personal trainer. So I train people in the gym with their fitness. I started a new league recently using USARS rules to give people a way to bounce back after the hiatus during the pandemic. And I host a podcast with this bitch.
Yeah. Podcast queens here.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. I love doing the podcast. I'm at Spain. I am from Spain. Hence. I started skating about 6 years ago. I started in Kerrville, Texas. And then I wanted to play high level. So I traveled all over Texas to do scrimmages and play with, other people and get my skill high. And then I tried out for Texas Roller Girls, where I became a Hara Honey. Then I made travel team. I skated with Chainsaws. She's my personal trainer. She's my coach. She's the host of our podcast. We do a lot of stuff together. Yeah. And I'm a seamstress in real life. I sew stuff.
Real life.
Yeah, because you have a real life when you're living the dream, right?
Right, exactly.
Harley Hitter lives my dream life. Diana Ortega is the one who just lives the real thing. So.
I feel that.
Yeah. It's trying to be like more of the other, right? Like crossover.
It's weird. It's weird. Yes.
Yeah. And it is beautiful when your vision starts becoming your reality. And it's a beautiful thing.
It is. 100%. Yes.
You want to go to bed so that you wake up the next day so you could do it all over instead of just wanting to go to bed just to finish your day. It's and it's beautiful.
That's it.
So before we go on, I just want to thank everybody who is supporting My Derby Romance, and thank you for joining. We always appreciate anybody who supports roller derby and podcasts and people living their dream. So, when did you all fall head over skates for roller derby?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, and this sounds really weird and people ask me about it all the time and I don't know how to explain it, but when I first started skating, I kind of hated it. I was terrible. And so going to practice was like really frustrating. And I could not tell you what made me keep going. I just did. I guess I'm just stubborn.
It's your commitment. I was gonna say you're so committed to what you do. Like you have to do it.
Exactly. I was like, it's not gonna beat me. Like I don't care.
Yes. That part.
And when I almost did quit, Terabyte, who became my derby sister and who also moved to Austin to skate for Texas Roller Girls, she just gave me the best pep talk ever and convinced me to keep going. But I think as far as really falling in love with it for me, it was an off the track experience when I started to realize how big the community was. And this wasn't just a pastime or a hobby for some women who wanted to skate around in short shorts and hit each other. And I started to actually learn what the derby environment was like how many teams worldwide were doing this. And the fact that Nashville was competing at the highest level at the time. At that time, they were a D1 team. And I was like, wow, y'all travel and y'all go to playoffs and y'all have these championships with people all over the world. And just how invested these women were in the success of the league, just seeing how much they put into marketing and getting sponsors. And I had never seen anything like it, especially in the sports world. And so that's when I really became invested, was actually doing off the track stuff. And so me wanting to see Nashville Roller Girls be successful actually led to me wanting to see the sport as a whole and the entire community see success. And so that was it for me. That was when I got roped in, whenever I started doing work for the sport to try to get it coverage and recognition and legitimize the sport.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I had never really skated before. I had like inlines when I was like 8, and I did it probably 5 times, and I fell and I didn't do it anymore ever again. And a friend of a friend was like, yo, there's this roller derby team here, like you should try it. And I'm like, I know about it. And I went to like one practice, and I literally fell in love with the sport, like the community, how well they like welcomed me and treated me and taught me everything they knew. That's what I needed at the time. I really needed a community, and I got it like literally instantly. So the first practice, really, I just fell in love with the sport.
Yeah, that's one of the things that sucks people in probably the most. I would say 80% of interviews is that community, you know what I mean? Like it really, you meet people, most skaters that are women, that identify as women, usually say, I never had friends that were girls until I was in derby, you know, or I never played sports except for derby, or, you know, but you find like, these are my people, you know, we talk about roller con, and it's just like, you're like, oh my God, like a family reunion. Like, you're like, I do have a family. They're all just like me, you know, but they're not at the same time. There is that diversity where you're just like, everybody's super intriguing because you guys, and you know, I'm not saying everyone gets along, but for the most part, there's a lot of people that you'll get along with, you know. And
oh, for sure. Like for me, it was like, because I'm alone in Texas, I don't have any family here. So finding that, it was a very pivotal moment in my life that I needed right then. And it was just what I needed. I found my family. So yeah, it was great.
so how did your first derby date go? Whether it be your first practice, like we're talking about, or your first bout?
Man, that's tough. So, like, if you count my very first practice, like the first time I went to rec league, that was trash. Like, because like the person who suggested that I go, they asked me if I skated before, and I was thinking back to like when I was a kid, and I went to like little birthday parties at the skating rink, and I was like, yeah, I've skated before. But then like I hadn't done it in decades, first of all. And on top of that, like I didn't really have any memory of what that was like. And I put on the skates, and then I realized I couldn't stand up. And I was like, oh yeah, like at the skating rink, you had like carpet and things to hold on to. And you know, if anytime I wanted to stop, I would just like
coast to the wall.
Yeah, coast over to the wall, or just like fall onto the carpet. But when I went to Nashville's rec league, we were in this warehouse, and so I put on my skates in the middle of this concrete, and I was like, I don't have anything to reach to stand up, and I don't want to fall on any part of this floor, and I sure don't want to run into one of these metal poles to stop. And I was just kind of sitting there for like probably 20 minutes before somebody was like, are you gonna come join? And I was just like, I can't. and then I spent an hour and a half with them trying to teach me how to stand on one foot. But my first bout was interesting because by the time I did pass minimum skills and get to the point where I was bouting, I was like so shy about contact and getting in the mix of things. I was always at the back of the pack. And I don't remember much about my first bout. I remember that it was like with a group of new skaters. And like at the time, Nashville didn't have home teams. They had an A and a B team, and they made like a C team of people to like go and bout. And I just remember I got a penalty, and it was a stop block. And I was so excited. And I was just like, I was blocking somebody. And I was just so excited. I went over to the penalty box. I was like, shit, I was blocking somebody. I did that shit wrong, but I was blocking somebody. It was really exciting.
No, I totally get it. When we played in Vegas, I was on the floor like half of the time, but that was because I was in the way. Like I'm always down. So like being a blocker, I was like, yeah, I can't hold back anybody, but I can get in the way for sure. Like, and so yeah, it sucked. I took a lot of hits, but like I stopped them. Like, you know what I mean? Like I did something, you know. So I remember that feeling. It's a good feeling. You're in the right place, right? You know, you knew where to be, and you were doing your job.
Right.
How about yourself?
I really don't remember much of my first practice. I do remember the first 3 months, I was a noodle and I was so sore everywhere. My eyelashes hurt. It was, I don't even know. I guess same thing. Like I was so committed, like I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna do it, period. But my first bout, so Curveball is a very small league. So they needed players. So some of us passed minimum skills barely, barely passed it. Yes, and then they just threw us in a bout in San Antonio, and I got my ass kicked, like handed to me multiple times. I have pictures of that bout, like me trying to plow, like those plows, and like the jammer being like 2 feet away, and just me looking at her passing because I couldn't get there. I didn't even know how to do it. Yeah, it was awful. It was terrible. It was terrible, but it gave me, like I'm gonna get better and I'm gonna sub the jammer next time. So yeah, it was good.
What about your alter ego? How did you find it?
Like the name itself or the actual alter ego?
Both. I've never been asked that.
I asked because for me it was like two different processes. Like I found my name Fleur de Lethal because my first year in Nashville, I didn't expect to get rostered for anything, and so like I never bought a jersey, so I went through a bunch of names. And Fleur de Lethal was the one that connected the most to my home state. So I liked some of the other ones, but like that was just the one that really felt unique and personal to me. So I went with Fleur de Lethal, and a lot of people called me Fleur, But then what happened over time was like, so like I passed minimum skills, and in Nashville, it was supposed to be 6 weeks after that before you were ready to scrimmage. And my skills were so subpar that like it took me 6 months before they considered me ready to scrimmage. And what happened during that process was I studied the game a lot, and I was doing a lot of extra practice. Nashville had a warehouse at the time that skaters had access to. And I mean, I was showing up at 5 a.m. several times throughout the week to practice, going there on the weekends by myself, practicing stops. I was like, I'm going to learn this game. And so by the time I made B team, I was doing like a lot of work on my skills on the track. And then I was also doing a lot for the league off the track. And I just remembered there was just this one game, I think it was against Chattanooga actually, where I think like the B team went to play this game, and I was captain by then. And we still kind of didn't expect to win because we were under rostered. So there were fewer of us. I wasn't very confident in my jamming skills, but it was just like, I don't know, something kicked in for us and we just started winning that game. And it was like after that game, like, people had been calling me Fleur. I was like, no, call me Lethal. Not just because I felt like I was a better skater, but just because I felt like with all the work I'd done on and off the track, I had earned like I had earned the ability to be looked at in a different way. Like Fleur is part of my name, but it has a softer tone than like Lethal. And that was when I just kind of had this feeling like I may not be the best skater, but there's a lot of ways that like people really can't fuck with me, So that was just kind of like it for me. And that was when like Lethal was born, and she's just been kind of growing and evolving ever since then.
To be fair, still nobody can fuck with her.
I believe it. I believe it.
I don't know about my alter ego. I feel like being Spain or Spain, I can be myself more than I can in any other scenario. Like I can speak my mind, I can, say my opinion and don't feel as judged as I would otherwise somewhere else. My teammates started calling me Spain because they were worried they were not pronouncing my name right. So instead of trying, they just call me by a completely different name.
Still think that's rude as hell.
We're just gonna call you this.
Yeah, just call me on my homeland. Cool. And then by the time that I had my name, but everybody was calling me Spain already. And I was just telling her about this the other day. I had just been introduced to T-Pain like a couple weeks before, the week before I passed minimum skills, when I earned my name. And I'm like, well, I might as well just be S-Pain. Because, with my accent, because I'm from Spain, I've been in the States for 10 years. It was so much thicker than it is now. So saying Spain is still hard. So it was always Spain. What are you from? I'm from Spain. So it was not just a play on words, but also how I would say it anyways. So yeah.
That's funny. Give me a second. Hey, can you? I was trying not to get her in the frame.
Hi. Oh, it's so cute. Yes.
Okay. Get her, please. Mama. What? 5 minutes. I don't know. But there's rice, the rice that you like with the cheddar cheese. You can make one of those in the microwave. Okay, I'm busy. We have an S-Mart here because I live in the border of Juarez and El Paso. I live in El Paso. And so I can, from my freeway, from my freeway. That's my freeway. From my freeway, you can see Juarez. Like you can see the houses and the streets. It looks like you could just, of course there's borders, but like it looks like you could just like go over.
Yeah. Do you know Naked Alien? Do you know Naked Alien? Do you know Marco? Naked Alien?
Yeah, for sure.
He is from
and
Juarez.
I know Andy and all the Bruiser
brothers.
Okay.
I don't know if you got skated with them or not.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, they were babies when I started. I started in 2008. I was one of the ones who started it, helped their aunt, and Andy and PJ's aunt is the girl who's the woman who started it here.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
It's a small itty bitty world.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially the Derby community, right? No, it's super huge though. It's very vast at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. My dog. I just want to make sure she's not gonna keep doing that. Okay. So we talked about how you found your alter ego. Has there ever been a time where you felt that you lost her? And if so, how did you get her back?
I did.
Okay. I'll let you go first then.
Because we did talk about how you evolved your alter ego, right? How she went from Fleur to Lethal.
Yeah. My last season at the beginning of 2019, so I chopped off my hair at the end of 2018. Like I had a pixie cut, it was short. And it's not like I didn't like how I looked, but it made me feel some type of way. Like it wasn't me. And then a lot of shit happened at the beginning of 2019 that got me fucked up. I was gonna go home and I didn't go home. I hadn't seen my parents. I hadn't seen, my family in a while. And I feel like that, I guess that first 6 months, 7 months of the year, I was not myself until I feel like it was right after home team season when we started training hard for B team champs. That I was like, you know what, fuck this. This is not who I am. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this for my team because they need me, and I'm gonna do whatever. Oh, because I was in the jammer rotation, which I hate jamming. I was in the jammer rotation, and I was asked to also block because we had a few people down in the team. And I'm like, yes, but please put me in the lineup as a blocker. I love it. And I think that was the moment that I was like, you know what, I need to get back on track and do what I gotta do to be the best that I can be for my team. But I did lose my alter ego for a minute. was not fun.
For me, I can probably think of 2 times. I know like right before I moved to Austin was probably one of those times. And not right before I moved. Right before I moved, it was actually me reconnecting with Lethal that actually helped me make that move, because it was a scary move. I didn't have a lot of my savings, and I didn't have a job lined up here, and it was just kind of like, what are you doing? But I was in a let's just say it wasn't exactly a healthy relationship, and I needed to get the fuck out of there. And I just remember that whole time period before I made that decision to leave, I just remember feeling just like a lot of fear about like, how do I leave? I don't have a savings. The job market in Nashville was turning to shit because Nashville was growing so fast. It was hard to find a place also because Nashville was growing so fast. So everywhere that I lived was expensive. At the time I was like living with the person that I was dating. So going from that to getting a place by myself that cost more than the last time I found a place. And I had just lost a job because I was working a job and the grant ran out for that position. And I didn't have anything else lined up yet. And it was a really scary time period. And I know there was like a time period where I put up with like a lot of bullshit from that guy. And I was just like really afraid of just like making a move and just like a lot of fear. And then one day I was like, you know what? Exactly. I was just like, you can't keep doing this shit anymore. So it's like, if this is how it's going to be anyway, might as well like go try your luck. Like, you know, you're smart. Even if you don't find your dream job amazing, like immediately, you'll find something. You will figure this shit out. But you want to move, make the move. You'll be closer to home. You'll be in a better situation. Just go. And Tara was leaving at the time as well. So it's like some of my stuff went on her moving truck, and then the rest of my stuff and my dog, I loaded up in my car and drove 14 hours till I got to Nashville. And so like that was like the first time that I lost and found her. The second time was probably like this past summer, honestly. And I don't think a lot of people knew it because at the time I was releasing like a lot of episodes of the podcast. And so I think people saw that and just assumed I was like really busy, but it was actually that I was hyper focused because I was going through a lot of shit. I don't want to get into it because I'll probably cry, but it's just like my dad got hospitalized on my birthday. And then like a few weeks after that, he ended up passing away. And I was just like, not myself. But it was different than how it was before. Before I moved to Austin, it was like this feeling of like I completely lost who I was, and there was a lot of fear. In this situation though, it was just like I almost felt like I was doing an imitation of myself. Like, okay, when I'm in front of people, I'm gonna still pretend to be lethal, but like when I was at home or like when I was thinking inside like my own head, I was just like, just everything felt off, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, it was more so that the idea of who Lethal was, or not even like my idea, it was the idea of who people thought Lethal was and who people said that she was, that actually just kind of kept me moving. And I just kind of kept faking it until I finally made it back. And so here I am. It's October now, and
crushing it, thriving, killing it.
Things are going
Podcast,
better.
new league, captain, coach, personal trainer.
Podcast is going really well.
The podcast is
And the
going
league is going really well,
Yes.
actually. I'm excited about both of those things. I'm glad I kept those going. It's almost like Lethal kept them going. It's almost like I was still in bed, like eating and just watching TV, and Lethal was like, okay, I'm just gonna borrow your body for a little while. I got this.
Yeah.
When you come back, the league will be fine, the
Yeah.
podcast will be fine. Okay, cool.
I have a question. Have you done any episodes in Spanish yet?
Have I done what?
Any episodes in Spanish? Or are you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I did, because I have friends who skate for Juarez.
Uh-huh.
And there's one very powerful one where there was a time, because El Paso is very safe. It's very safe here. I grew up.
Sure, yeah.
But like, during the cartel, there was like, I want to say between 2006-ish for like a few years, it was getting really bad in Juarez. And so there were a lot of women that were being kidnapped and raped, even if you just crossed over or just the locals that lived in Juarez. So there were certain times that women wouldn't leave, or anybody wouldn't leave their houses past like 6 o'clock, right? And it took a while for the people to take the city back from the cartel. People were selling, people were closing their businesses down. It was getting really bad. People were moving here. A lot of people wouldn't cross over anymore. So they started opening a lot of the businesses that we would go visit here in El Paso. So then when it started to open, so there's all these like pink crosses in Juarez. It's for justicia, for justice. And we were talking about that, and I was trying to remember the name so that if you want to look it up, I think it's Caroña. Cara Caroña is her.
Charuca.
Yeah, because of the middle band, right? Like yeah. So she was saying that when it started opening up, or when people started to take the city back, is when not only were women coming out of their homes, but they also started skating. And it was beautiful. They started roller derby, and it was like, wow, like what a way to take your power back, right? To be afraid to go out and then to just do this like powerful thing, and in Juarez, it's like, they don't have, a lot of us skate on shitty shit, right? But like in Juarez, dude, like they skate on shitty shit, and a lot of things are very expensive there, or for them. And like, I always admire that. They pay for everything. They pay for everything to travel, to travel and play in Mexico. They're like always trying to fundraise. And it's not like here where people buy your merch. Even the little bit that they do buy your merch, it's harder over there for them to sell merch. And so it was beautiful that not only did they step outside of their houses, but they stepped into a pair of skates, dude, and they just started kicking ass. And they're a badass team. Those women, man, I wouldn't fuck with them either. And so Didi Dynamite, Caroña is first, and she does the whole interview in Spanish. So I grew up speaking with my grandma. My parents were both fluent in Spanish, but like, because we got in trouble, it was a problem if children were speaking Spanish in school. So they never taught their kids to speak Spanish so that they wouldn't get in trouble, right? It was just a whole,
bullshit.
Yeah, basically, right, colonizing us and whatnot, but that's another subject for another time. And but so my grandma worked in downtown in Centro, and she knew English. She understood English but she couldn't speak English. I understood Spanish, but I couldn't speak Spanish until I was older and I had to work. And then I started to learn, but I always understood it, and I understand a lot more than I can speak because I didn't have to practice speaking because my grandma understood me. So she would talk in Spanish, I would talk in English, and we just communicated just fine. And so our interview, so I go visit Cara and Juarez. It's been a while since COVID. I haven't gone to Juarez, but what's it called? We would have coffee. And so I met her because she wrote a paper on when roller derby started. And somebody had told me about her. And luckily she was in Juarez because she's been going to school like in different parts of Mexico, but she was in Juarez at the time. And so I was able to I'd never met the girl, crossed the bridge, waited for her. She saw me, I found her. And so our whole interview, later on, I asked her if she wanted to be on the show. And our whole interview is in English and in Spanish. So I'm asking my questions in English. She's answering me in Spanish. And what I did is in the comments is I did the translation.
That's
so
cool.
Everything Cara said, I translated.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's
yeah.
cool. That's
So
cool.
I was going to try to do it on the subtitles, and oh man, that was
no. You can't. You
I
can't.
was like, no.
We just started watching La Más Draga with Naked Alien and one of his friends and my boyfriend, and we try to do the subtitles, but they're only in Spanish because my boyfriend does not speaks a little bit. And
not enough to follow that though.
They were like killing those subtitles. I'm like, it doesn't even make Sans, would you type in? Like, I don't know how they did this, but it makes no sense at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Like I watch Casa de Papel, Money Heist on
Oh,
Netflix. I
love
know. Oh no, and I love it, right? And but and I leave it on just in case there's something that I don't know. I'll leave
Uh-huh.
them there, but then I'm like, most of the time I'm like, that's not what she said. But
Yeah.
some things is like you can't like and it's funny because I'm not like 100% fluent in Spanish, but growing up here, there's some words that I don't know in English because I've only learned them in Spanish. Like I don't know how to say that in English, and I can't translate, like, so yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Sorry, that was a rampage. But yes, I do. I have interviews in Spanish. I wish I had interviews in other language, but I'm only
That's enough, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
As to more than what most people have.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
I have Australia. Her name is Pulp Friction, I think.
Pulp Friction.
Uh-huh. And then Ireland? No, not Ireland. I don't remember. But he's also wrote a book and he is a comedian and he's an announcer and he's a coach and he's
Oh damn! All right, he's involved.
he's on there too. So what were you guys looking for in roller derby?
And I mean, for me, initially, I was just like looking for a way to stay active. I've always liked being active, but then like once I got out of college and I wasn't doing marching band anymore and wasn't doing intramural sports, it's like I was working out, but the person who convinced me to go directly, like she must have bugged me about it for like 6 months. And ultimately I decided to do it just because I thought it would be easier to pick up than what it was. And I was like, oh, that could be fun. Because I was thinking of the version of roller derby that I saw on TV. And I was like, oh, that could be fun. I'll give it a shot. And so initially that's what I was looking for. I wanted to put on fishnets and a short skirt and skate around on skates and just like be in a girl gang. Um, whatever. Um, and I stuck around just because it started to feel like there was just a bigger purpose. I started to feel like I had something to offer the community. So that became what I was looking for. Just like, how can I use my skills to benefit this community? Or like, what can I do to help the people in this community achieve what they're trying to achieve? Which I've since learned is like a different answer for a lot of people. But as far as the people who want to achieve the same things that I want to achieve, that's what I'm looking for now. Just like, what's the path? How are we going to move forward from here?
No. I don't know. I guess same. I mean, I was coming out of a marriage when I found Derby. I found Derby in May. I got divorced in July. So
Derby divorce. The Derby divorce. So you're like,
yes. It was so bad. It was very toxic. It was terrible. I needed to get out, and I feel like that's why also I needed to stick with Derby, because I would have something, because I had nothing. Literally, I had nobody. But I needed, like, I gained a lot of weight in my marriage. It was terrible. It was very unhealthy. It was really bad. So as soon as I found Derby, and I started running, I started working out, I started doing all this stuff, and just to accommodate my athleticism to Derby. So I feel like it was more also to be active, to stay active in a way. I played sports all my life. I played soccer, indoor soccer, basketball, volleyball, kickball. I played all the sports, but this is the one, and I suck at all of them. I'm like the worst ever at all of them. But Derby is the one that's like, no, girl, you can do it.
Same. I was never good at any sport I played.
Yeah, that was terrible.
But Derby is like the only sport that actually gave me a chance to actually get
Get
good at it.
Yes.
So that there's also that. Every other
Yes.
sport, it's like, you know, you try out, you don't make it, then you're just like, yeah, go away.
Yeah.
You know, but with Derby, it's like, yeah, you struggling, but you know, you can keep struggling as long as you need to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Whenever you get it together, there's a place on the track for you.
Right. Yes. Well said. Yes.
And because you play together so much, like you have your tripods, you know, like volleyball, you're on a team, but you own that spot. You better take care of that spot. Like nobody comes to help you when you're, you know, softball. I played softball too, and it's like, you know,
You have your area, and you have to
you take care of that spot and whatnot. So yeah, but yeah, Derby was one of those things that I did. I kind of got it right away. And like, I think for me now, I feel like I plateaued as much as I wanted to get better. Like, I was just kind of like, skaters are getting younger, and I'm trying to get better. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, you know, like I'm getting older, skaters are getting younger, and there's new stuff coming out. And it's kind of like, my body's not doing the things that I wanted it to do, you know, like, and I'm not as carefree as I was when I started, when I was 30, than now that I'm 43. Like, I care now. I'm like, don't hit me.
It takes longer to heal. Like,
Yeah. And that carefree attitude, man.
I know.
Like seeing that in some of the new skaters that I've seen, like in people who like got an interest in skating during the pandemic, and now they're coming to various derby practices or get-togethers, whatever you want to call them, and just like seeing just like how easily they'll just throw themselves into a contact situation, just like no big deal. I'm just like, wow.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was me. Like, I remember mid derby career, like 35-ish. I started racing, doing triathlons and things like that. And I liked it. It's nothing like derby, but I did like, eventually I started to even like it a little bit more than derby, because I could go whenever I wanted. I could do it on my own time. Like, I don't know. I did start like craving those finish lines after a while, you know, and it did help me in derby too. That was my cross training, was like being in races, and then derby was my cross training from, you know, they were both like helped a lot, because derby really loosens me up, especially jamming and getting hit. Like it makes me more loosey goosey, because everything else is just so like running, cycling. Except for swimming. I love swimming, but like things like that. So yeah, I dabble in too much, so I'm not like really great at anything, but I do everything kind of thing. But that's what I flow. That's the world I flow in. So have you and roller derby ever broken up?
No. There's a phrase I hear in music a lot where they say I'm married to the game, and that's really how I feel at this point.
Same. Even like after the pandemic, well, when the pandemic started and there was no derby, I was literally going crazy. I wasn't living here at the time. I was living in a duplex, and in my driveway, I had a heavy bag, a boxing bag, and a pole, a dance pole. So I would get on skates and hit the bag on skates and get on the pole on skates, anything that I could get. And I started hitting the skate park, anything that could like give me a little bit of the oomph of that I was missing from derby, because I was literally going crazy without it. Now we have it back, but it's been a long road.
I never stopped skating. I wasn't supposed to be. They put barricades, and I won't say which park I went to. They put barricades in front of one of the parks, and I would just like, I would look at the weather app the night before and see when it would be sunrise, so that I knew that there would be light, but also there wouldn't be like any cops around for me to get in trouble. And I would like go drive up, I'll move the barricades, go park my car, skate for like an hour, just working on plow stops, jumps, footworks. And I would leave, put the barricade back, go home. I was always thinking about like, okay, when Derby comes back, what are we going to need next? How are we going to set this up? Like, how are we going to get people back on skates? How are we going to get competition going again? What's going to be the best way to market? How are we going to get these sponsors? How are we going to get the, like, it never stopped for me. And as a matter of fact, like even before I moved to Austin, I remember I was dating a guy and like he had a problem with how much time I spent with my team and practicing and stuff. And I told him, I was like, don't make me choose. I'm like,
oh yeah.
If you try to make me choose, you're gonna lose me, dude. Don't make me choose.
Yeah.
He still tried to make me choose. It wasn't very smart.
Yes.
Yeah, they will lose every time. I think we talk about this, and I'm sorry, my viewers, or if you're Derby, then you don't mind hearing this, but in every interview we talk about how partners or people that are interested in us are super intrigued by Derby until they know that they take third. My kids, Derby, and then them, you know what I mean? It's like they're like, wow, but they're there real quick with their signs, right? But they don't realize, like, yeah, in order for you to cheer for me, I have to be good. And in order for me to be good, that means my heart is there all the time. And my sisters are there all the time, my brothers. And, I remember like when I was captain and I would coach, I was always thinking of drills. What would make us, passing bunnies, throwing balls, doing all sorts of, everything that I could think of, like so that we could just be better, we could be stronger, we can communicate more, like looking up stuff, reading books, and it's just like, those pins that say talk Derby to me or whatever, like, my friend Frida Kruger, I was with my daughter's dad at the time, and they would always like, Derby, Derby, Derby. I fucking hate Derby. But they were the ones there helping us set up the day up, and it's just like one of those monsters that lives in the relationship. Like you either love it or hate it, but it's not going anywhere. It's right on the couch, right smack in the middle of us, because you're watching a movie with them and you're just like, so are we going to get the posters? And so like, you know what I mean? You're with them, and you're like you're with Derby, 100% of the time. And totally get it.
Well, I mean, what I've found is that the right person won't make you choose. Like everybody I know whose relationship has survived Derby, it's because that skater eventually made the decision themselves at some point. Like whether it was that they wanted to have kids or they were just like ready to retire and pass that torch and spend more time on their relationship, that skater made that decision for themselves. I've never seen a situation go well where a person was forced by their partner to put that relationship first. So that's like my advice to anybody who dates somebody who's in the Derby world. It's like, look, if it's not a good fit, deal with that. But otherwise, that person is going to have to come to that conclusion themselves, because otherwise, like, even if they do leave, you're going to end up with a very unhappy person. I've seen skaters who their partner has convinced them to leave. And then like within a couple months, I'm like, weren't you retired? What you doing in practice? It's like, oh, me and so-and-so not together anymore.
Yeah, we broke up.
I've seen this multiple times. So I'm just gonna let that person get there on their own.
Yes.
And like what Spain was saying, like that she needed something to delve in that was going to take up her time. You don't dabble in Derby. You can try all you flippin' want to dabble in Derby. You join Derby, you're on the board, you're on a committee, you are like adopted, and that is your new family. Like you can't just dabble in Derby. You can try. You could be a skater that has been in all of it and say, you know what, I'm coming back, guys, but all I'm gonna do is skate. Bullshit, dude. Bullshit. It's not. Okay, Harley, yeah, sure, we're just gonna let you skate, and then either I'm gonna volunteer to do something, or I'm gonna get asked to do something, and it's never just skating. Never. Like it's not. It's just there's too much to go on to just sit back and watch. I mean, there are some skaters, I love those skaters that just go skate. I'm like, that's amazing. But
That they
One-
good
just
for you.
One
Good for
person.
you and your
Well,
boundaries.
actually, no, that don't
Skaters
even
that go
count.
skate.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say I don't think I know anybody that.
Well, see, I was gonna say
Just
freight train, but I
skates.
remember she does like the clinics everywhere. So even
Oh,
she,
right.
yeah, I'm like,
Right,
yeah, I don't know. Any-
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that just
Skate.
plays derby. Yes.
Yeah, they
Plays
just go to
derby.
practice and leave. And good for you. If you're out there, you have the
Yeah,
best
if you're
boundaries in the
listening, please send us
world.
a tip. I want to know how to do it too.
Right? But how do you not have 5 different messages going for different like groups?
So
Show
many
me your
group
way.
chats. Yes, email.
Comment below, please.
Yeah.
So, because of the growing obsession of roller derby, what have been the obstacles that have come between you and derby at times? Or how did you find balance in the heavy load of roller derby and the real world, like we were talking about earlier?
For me, probably the biggest obstacle was just finances and getting to the point where I had to work so much that I ended up like for a period of time, I wasn't going to as many practices. I wasn't on the travel team because I tried it when I first moved here, and it was rough, you know, because I was just like, you know, I'm gonna find like I said, I moved here with no job, no savings, but I was still determined to be on travel team. Looking back on it, that might not have been the best way to go about things. But I mean, at the time, it like I made the decision I made. It is what it is. I can't fix it. But like after a couple of years of doing that, it got to the point where I was like, I literally can't afford it anymore. I need to get my finances together. I need to make some real life decisions. And so that was probably the main time where like the real world got between me and derby, just because I needed to pay down credit cards, needed to pay off debt, needed to spend more time working, finding a better job, more consistent work. And I mean, it ended up working out. You know, I found a path where I started making money more consistently. But even at first, that like there was a very big conflict between that and practices. But eventually I figured it out. Now I'm practicing, working, no longer struggling. But yeah, that can happen, especially like when you're single and living by yourself in a city that's getting as expensive as Austin is, you know.
Mhm.
It's insane here.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like when I was in Kerrville, it was only like twice a week practice, so it was very manageable, and we only had like a few games a year, so it was pretty manageable. But then when I started like traveling to go to other practices in other states and other like scrimmages and everything, and I moved to Austin, and I was working about 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday. I was working 3 to 5 hours Saturday and Sunday, and I was skating 7 days a week. And I was so burned out. At the end of 2018, I was like, bitch, you can't. No way. No. My partner at the time, my girlfriend, was almost giving me an ultimatum, like, it's derby or me. Derby takes a lot of time or your life. I'm like, bitch, yes, it does. And he's going to anyway. So there's really no solution for you, because this is my life, and you came into my life when this was here anyway. So I'm not gonna change it for you. I'm not gonna change it for anybody. So I feel like that was a time that life really sort of got in the way, because it was a lot. I had to work a lot. Same was what she was saying, to be on travel team. That year on 2018, we went to Montreal, LA, New Orleans, Denver,
Yeah.
like, and Dallas, because we teams was in Dallas, right?
Oh yeah, Dallas.
So it was like, it's a lot of money that we have to get out of our pocket in hotels and flights,
and then you're
food.
missing work sometimes.
Right, you have to ask off work, like it's a lot. And at the end of that year, I was like, that's why the beginning of 2019 was sort of really kind of fucked up for me too, because I was coming out of that burnout too.
Mhm.
And it just, that's the time that really life got in the way as an obstacle. I guess life can be an obstacle sometimes when you talk derby.
Yeah, like for some reason, nobody respects Derby as much as we do.
Right,
It's
that's
not
what I'm
important.
saying.
It's like, I have to set up the track, and they're like, you need to get paid, and you're like,
right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Nobody thinks Derby is as important as we do, unfortunately, right? But if they only knew. They only knew.
Right. It's because they're not in it.
Exactly.
It traps
Which,
you.
which leads me to my next question, and maybe people will start understanding after this. How does Derby make you feel?
I don't even know what word I would use. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be one word.
Of course not.
I don't know. Derby makes me feel hopeful. I guess. I don't know how to answer this. Like, I guess when I think about Derby, I think about the way that it's changed people's lives. Just the number of people I know who really found themselves through Derby, or the places around the world that I hear about where, just the culture in different cities and different neighborhoods has been changed through the existence of a roller derby league. And I feel like there's something about this community that the best version of it has something to offer the world in terms of what a community can look like when we start to value each other in spite of differences, regardless of differences, when we start to look at the strongest and best versions of people that we know. Not to make it sound like some kind of after school special, because it's definitely not all, puppies and rainbows, but like, I guess at the end of the day, I see a lot of potential in the sport, especially with it being one of the few sports that's female dominated, because most sports start off as like, it's, men play this sport, and then women come along and play some version of that sport. Flat track derby is one of the few places in the sports world where that doesn't happen. And so just as far as potential of it to just like help people realize these different sides of themselves that they have to their character, or realize that maybe they are a more fit or athletic version than any they ever believed they were, whether it was because of their experience or their appearance or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of potential for the community to grow, and to become something even bigger than what it is, as far as offering people an outlet, offering people a hobby, and maybe even eventually one day offering people jobs. And I really want to do everything that I can to help Derby get to that point. And I guess that's why I say hopeful, because it's just like, even whenever I think that like sport's gonna die, there's no interest, there's always something that happens that lets me know like, no, people's hearts are in this. Like, we can actually make some really amazing things happen. Yes. Like, there are some rock stars and some superheroes that I skate with, and I'm like, yeah, we can get together and make some awesome stuff happen. I don't know what, like, we have to decide what we're gonna make happen, but like we can. There's a purpose for this sport, and there's a purpose for all of us. And that's something else I like to see. I like seeing people come in this sport just kind of feeling like they're an outcast or a black sheep of whatever community they're in. And then they come in and they find like, oh, you got a purpose here too. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling, but yeah. I feel like there's room for Derby to make an impact on the world in a really cool way. And I want to see that happen.
Yeah, I would love to see Derby get the recognition that it deserves as well.
As a matter of fact, I think that's what it is. I like seeing people be unapologetically themselves. Even when I don't necessarily like who that person turns out to be, if they're unapologetically being themselves, as long as they're not fucking with me, I'm good. And I love to see it. And like, Derby is one of those places where like everybody comes in and like, yeah, they can be whatever they imagine themselves to be if they want to put work into being that person. It's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Derby makes me happy. I go back to always the same thing. Like, I found Derby in a very specific moment in my life that I needed it so much, that I feel like I owe so much to the sport. And that's why I want to be the best skater that I can be for any team that I'm on. And I don't know, it makes me, like she was saying, it makes me feel that I can be myself. Like I can be who I am unapologetically. Such a bad
Beautiful.
word. I know. I'm like,
So many
I don't know if I can say this. But yeah, it makes me full. It makes me happy. Like there's so many times that I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go to practice. But once you get there, the hardest part is to get to practice. Once I'm there and I put on my skates and I just, I see my people and we skate around and we start practicing, like all those feelings throughout the day and they're gone for that period of time. I'm just me and I'm happy and I'm happy to be where I am. So I feel that's it really makes me feel.
Yeah, it's inspiring too. I think that's like an even better word. Like we recently did an interview with Hydra, and it's like one of the things that I was thinking about as we were talking to her was like how I felt when I first started learning about how big the global derby community is. And when I learned that, like, some women basically got together and were like, we're going to make this organization for the skater, by the skater. And I'm like, and y'all grew that to like 400 plus leagues around the world just off of all these women and all these other people in the community, like, men, women, non-binary, like, and people, on different, different spots on the spectrum as far as like identity and sexuality. All these people came together and were like, yeah, we're going to make this happen. I'm like, so y'all really went from these women in Austin, Texas, to now you have an international championship with literally people from all over the world. Like that is some wild, and like without major backing. Like there never was some like eccentric billionaire owner that came in and made this shit happen. There was never any major network that was like, we're going to sponsor you so that we can put your content on our channel. This was sheer force of will. Like a lot of the people who made this happen didn't even grow up with like, or not grow up, but they didn't have like a lot of business experience, or they weren't educated into this is how you run a sports organization. They were just like, we want to do this. And then they did that shit. And not like not small shit, like big shit. Like that is fucking inspiring. It's like, if you've ever questioned, can I get something done? Like, look at the story of the birth of Flat Track Roller Derby and the WFTDA and what it grew into and who it was that helped it grow. And that should give you all the inspiration that you need, that like, yo, if you really want to do something and you're willing to put in time and effort into it, you can make it happen. It might take a while, but yeah, you can make it happen. Sure.
If anything showed me that I could do anything, it's been roller derby. Like if it weren't for roller derby, I wouldn't have any like confidence to write not just one book, but 2 books, to have a podcast, to have a community that would support my podcast, that, like, I don't know any of you guys. I would have never met you all had I not like first shit my pants and then put on Derby Hill. Hey, I'm trying to do this. You know what I mean?
But look at the response that you got from people that you've never met before.
Yeah, I was booked up with interviews until the next year. I put it out last December and I had interviews every other week for a fucking year. And I was like blown away. And it's so funny because once I got to January of next year, that's when they stopped. And so it was just like, and it was a weekend. It was that weekend. I was just getting people's responses and I filled up my calendar. I do hair. I also do hair. And so I had like this appointment book and I just filled it like every other week. Like I just went and then I was in September and then I was October and I was like, holy shit, and it's been beautiful. And it's always been like, if I'm just talking to people that I've known my whole life, because we have this same like, so when we're talking about what you're talking about, the inspiration, everything, like for me, I think that like, I see this a lot, and I see roller derby as a place where we can take our power back. There's so much that happens throughout the day, relationships, work, you get shit on by people, you don't feel respected, you can't fight back. Maybe you're in an abusive relationship, you can't fight back at home, but you go on the track and you're fucking respected. When you get knocked down, somebody helps you up, asks if you're okay, you get back up multiple times in one practice, knowing I can fucking do this. And you can go back home and be and feel good about yourself, even if it was a bad practice, that you're a bad bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I did that.
Exactly.
And so it's a place where you take your power back, especially as women, where you can be strong and you're with other strong women and they tell you you're a bad bitch. And
Yes.
it's just like, it's, and you're not going to get that anywhere else. You're not. Like, you will find other supportive groups and things like that, but there's nothing like being a warrior, a woman warrior that hits each other and is like, hey, what's up? You know,
and then afterwards you go have a
friends.
beer with them, you know, like.
You know, and I say that a lot, like, there's no adulting and full contact sports, like, ever, unless you're like getting paid in the NFL.
Right. Yes, exactly.
But you don't know any adults that do contact sports after the age of whatever.
Yeah.
And here we are from like, well, we have junior leagues now, but like, I want to say like 18 through like 50. I don't know. And the oldest, you know, derby skater, there's a woman out there.
I've been on the track with a woman who was 63 years old before.
Boom. You know, that is still willing to knock someone down and willing to take a hit. I mean, there might be something wrong with us, but at the same time, but at the same time, it's like, we're just aggressive people, but we can't be that way in the real world. And, you know, and so it's fun. And it's a place where we, like I said, where you can take your power back. And you could be like, you know, I can't hit people outside of the track, but I can hit people here and it's okay.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, what has been your worst derby moment?
One?
Well, like the worst, or whatever. Share two, share three.
I can think of two off the top of my head that like they happened at the same time. One of them kind of still happens, but I'm gonna try not to put anybody on blast. I'm gonna try not to say names. I want to say my worst derby moment was probably at a tournament, and it's something that happens. I feel like a lot of people can relate to this experience, and it happened to me more than once, but like this particular time, it was like, it hit me particularly hard because I had been practicing harder than ever. And I felt like my skills were like better than ever. And it was like, basically I was left off of a roster. And it's one of those things that I normally don't even complain about. I'm just like, you know, I'm going to be where my team needs to be. And, you know, my coaches are going to make the best decisions. But in this situation, it was just like, there was no indication beforehand. And it's just like, I'm one of those people, I really appreciate open communication. So it's like, if I'm asking you every week, like, you know, I haven't gotten any feedback, you know, in several weeks. Is there anything that I should do differently or better or work on? And you're just like, no. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm just cut from a game. And then even then with no good explanation, like replaced with somebody from the 18 who never even practiced with my pod. I'm just like, what the hell? Like, that was just like really upsetting because it's just like when people are in a position of authority on a team, I trust them. And so what I think it was less that I didn't make the roster and more so that I felt like my trust was betrayed. I felt like I'd been lied to and misled. And I was just like, there was no need for that. Like, you could have just been honest with me. And it was kind of related to a situation that had happened a couple of weeks before that, where it was just like, the person who was running practice said that they were going to put out a line based on certain criteria. And like, I met the criteria and they were like going down a list and reading the names of the people who were going out next. And they literally just skipped over me. Like, I was like I was behind them looking at the list and I saw them hesitate and just skip my name. And I was like, why did you skip me? And they were just like, oh, that was a mistake. And I was like, no, you were reading the names and like you literally paused. And they were like, oh, well, I was just confused because I thought I had put your name there on mistake. And I was just kind of like,
wow. I felt like better.
I felt like I was being gaslighted, you know? And so like, that was a really upsetting situation.
Damn.
So that was like one of my worst derby moments because it was the first time that I felt like I could not trust people that I was expecting to help my team be the best team it could be. And I'm like, if this is how you're making decisions, like I no longer trust you to lead and guide my team, but there's nothing I can do about it. So now I'm just sitting here pissed off. And then the other situation was similar, but it was off the track. And it was basically a situation where somebody who I trusted to make decisions for the good of the sport and the growth of the sport off the track, I basically came to the realization that they they may or may not value their own ego and pride above what's actually best for, you know, the people that they are leading. And that's been really hard to deal with. But, you know, as Derby rebuilds itself from the ashes, we'll see what happens. We'll see how that goes. That's one of the good things about things being for the skater, by the skaters, that like it makes it for a very mobile situation of like, you can create an organization that's very agile if you need to, you know. So it's really hard for one person to ruin the whole sport or to ruin a team, right, like it would be in a professional organization. Like if Jerry Jones makes dumb decisions for the Cowboys, it's game over the Cowboys. There's nothing they can do. They'll never be able to match his money. They can't do anything without him. But with Derby, it's like, you know, it would be like if Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott were like, you know what, this is some bullshit. We're going to make our own team in Frisco. Like,
yeah.
Like, we can do that. They can't.
Right.
For real. And at the same time, there are those skaters that can make a season a living hell. And you're just
100%.
Why are you such a fucking douchebag? And it's true. There's as much as beautiful as Derby is, there's the ugly side of it, and there's the politics of it. And we talk about it in every interview, and everybody's felt it. Everybody's felt that like discrimination for one reason or another. Like, how did you know I wasn't going to make practices? It wasn't even the time that like you guys panicked and assumed that I wasn't going to make my practices, and now I'm not on the roster and I don't get to, or I pay money for this. I take time out of my day. I didn't come here to just sit and do, whatever. Like it sucks, man. And like,
I think like whenever, regardless of the team that you play for, it should be established from the get-go. Like, are we playing to win or are you playing for fun? Right? Because if we're playing to win, the roster might be very, very different than if we're playing for fun, right? I've had this conversation with a team that I coached, like, what do y'all, I don't care how to run practice, but if I have to do it more low key for the people that need to catch up to the top people, that's fine. If you want to play everybody, that's fine. But if we're playing to win, I'm not gonna do any low key practices. We're gonna go hard the 2 hours that we're here. So we're gonna go to champs again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And playing for fun is like home team stuff.
Right, exactly.
It's home team stuff. you want some rankings, you better be playing to win, like and we always talk about that. There's Derby for everyone. There's Renegade, there's Whipped, there's Few Stars, there's a co-ed, there's all that. There's home team. You just want to come out here and have fun. Great, we have a team for you. You want to be ranking, great, we have a team for you. There's all like it's just a colorful sport with like all sorts of levels, and you can put into it whatever you want, and just make sure you're on the right team. You know what I mean? Like, don't want to travel if you want to do home team shit. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, I think that's very, very important for any leadership group of any league that you're running, like any team that's traveling the way that we travel, to be like brutally honest with you from the get-go. Like, hey, this is what's happening. This is going to be the roster. This is when you need to work on or whatever for you to actually make the roster, maybe for next game, maybe for next tournament. Because if I'm not going to play, because I had almost the same situation. Like, I was told, literally, we were flying on Friday. I got called on Wednesday, and I wasn't going to play the first game because I had been home 2 weeks prior and I didn't make practices. And I'm like, you literally knew I was leaving for like 3 months, and you waited 2 days before the actual tournament to let me know. Like, you knew this from the start. I would have made peace with it a long time ago, instead of you
3
telling me
weeks
right
ago.
before the tournament. I'm trying to get my head straight, like it's tough. But I do remember this time when I broke my ankle playing derby, and we had like 2 alternates, and one of them was a really good friend of mine, and she had just started playing. And so I didn't know I had broken my ankle yet. I heard the snap. I couldn't get up. It swelled up really fast. But the EMT came. Yes, the EMT came, and he was like, "Hey, if I wrap your ankle, you're not gonna play anymore." And I looked at him like, "Bitch, I am playing. Have you seen my ankle? I can't even put my skate back on. Like, what do you mean? No." So I went and told my friend, like, "Hey, you're gonna play. Like, I'm hurt. Whatever." And she was completely disregarding the fact that I got hurt, and she was so excited that she was gonna get to play that she like literally got up and left me there. And I'm like,
wow.
Yes, I was like,
Wow.
okay,
Wow.
all right. I was not expecting you to be this happy that I got hurt. So you can play. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a little
You're
tough.
Like, that probably hurt more than your broken ankle.
Yes. My feelings were hurt. So hurt. Yeah.
You're like, I'm fine though. Good luck.
Yes. Yes. It was crazy.
So was that your worst derby moment?
I think so. Those 2 times I was hurt. I was hurt. Like, my heart hurt from other people's actions. Yes, from other people's actions, more than that I was giving my all to everything that I was doing, and then I just got a slap in the face. I didn't even see it coming.
Yeah, there's been multiple times where derby's broken my heart, man. And that's just because I love it so much and I have so much confidence in it. And when people let you down, you're just like, it hurts, man. It hurts. I get it. So, what has been your best derby moment? I know.
Mine is so clear.
Good.
When I made Hara Honey,
she's all like,
yes. So like, I was literally just telling her this before. On 2017, I came with one of my good friends to watch all the season games from the Texas Roller Girls, the home teams. And when I saw the Hara Honeys play the first game season opener, I was like, bro, I want to be that. That's what I want. That's what I want to do. And we watched every game. We came from Kerrville up here every game. And I ended up trying out at the end of 2017. I'm like, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And I ended up trying out. And I was literally telling my captain back in Kerrville, I was like, if I don't make the Hara Honeys, I don't know how I feel about this, like, I like when I got drafted, like when I heard my name, I just lost it, cried, laughed. It was great.
Hell yeah.
And that is such a tough question to answer. Like, there's so many moments that I feel like mean a lot to me. So on the track, it's probably the game I mentioned earlier that I was talking about when I was in Nashville and we skated against Chattanooga. Basically, the night Lethal was born. Because that was like my first and only time ever getting awarded MVP Jammer for something. But the reason why was because like we were actually losing going into halftime. We were. But they had some kind of themed night. Like they were playing some music that I didn't like. And I remember I came out of halftime and I went up to the DJ and I was like, could you play something different? And he was like, well, I have to play this music because it goes with the theme. And I did the whole thing, like chest out, batting eyelashes, moving my hair. Yes. And I'm like, I was like, could you put some Kendrick Lamar on me, please? Like, they probably won't mind. They won't even notice. Like, you played it all the first half. And he was like, okay. So I go out there to jam. And he put on, I think it was Backseat Freestyle. And I fucking killed it. And we took the lead. And I still have, like, my award for MVP Jammer. That was, like, a really cool night. off the track was probably like right after the pandemic. I don't even know if this should count, but like when I was voted captain of travel team, that meant a lot. Cause like I get it was a pandemic and like not everybody even voted, but just the fact that like I wasn't on travel team the year before, I haven't skated in a D1 playoff game yet. And so the fact that the people who were present, like, felt like they could trust me with the future of the travel team, with this uncertain, unclear future of the travel team, just because of my, work ethic and my mindset, like to me, that meant a lot that they would trust me in that position. So that was really cool.
It is. That's very cool. That's beautiful. And you reminded me of like when I felt like I was a better jammer, it was during the time when I was on Renegade. That's how Sun City started as now they're Bank Track. But we used to have some really cool jams going. And whenever I heard my songs, there was no one that was gonna stop me, man. Like I was getting through. And like I think that I missed that. Like
Yeah.
that music was, and it was loud and it was dark and there were lights, and I just remember that it was just like that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I mean, as much as I love like Wiftida and like the rule set now, back then when my first couple of seasons, they were rowdy and they were grungy and they were loud and they were fun. Back in my day. So how are you all coping with the pandemic and Derby? I know things are opening up now, but how was that? I know we did touch on it a little bit, but you can elaborate for me.
For me, it was really sad at first because Austin was supposed to host the international championship in 2020, and when that got canceled, that just hurt.
Crushed. I was crushed.
And since then, it's been really frustrating just seeing how easily people checked out. It's like there are so many people who they claimed that they were just like the hardest workers and the most committed and the most dedicated. But it's like as soon as rankings weren't on the line, can't find them. It's like league needs to rebuild. There's work that needs to be done. Can't find them.
MIA.
MIA, not answering emails, not showing up to train, not skating, not working out, haven't kept themselves in any kind of Derby shape. So they're not helping on or off the track. And so I think that's been the most hurtful thing, just to see like how many people are actually committed to the mission that we said we were on, Mm-hmm. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, what can you do? It's like Derby is a hobby for a lot of people, and people retire, quit, and stuff all the time. I think it's just been different during the hiatus because this is a time where it's like we really need you, because it's not like we've been recruiting to replace these people, so it feels less like they retired and more like they just abandoned the mission altogether. And I haven't talked to some of these people, so I don't know, but I'm just saying that's what it feels like. Because it's not like these people have like checked in to be like, hey, this is what's going on in my life, I wish you the best, I can do XYZ, but that's it. It's just like just dipped out completely. Not only that, but seeing just a different side of people on social media and realizing certain people aren't who you thought they were. Like just that has been really tough, just like having to reshape the image of my organization in my own mind and gain a different understanding of what it actually is compared to what I thought it was. And just like even some of the things that I kind of thought that I hope weren't true have proven themselves to be true, in terms of like the work ethic and how quickly people will jump ship when shit gets hard. So that's probably been the toughest part, but I've kind of found a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak.
I don't know how I've been coping without Derby. It's been like I didn't want to think about it because it would make me very, very sad all the time. I feel like there was months that I was like, I put my skates on, got on my driveway, and just like body check my heavy bag just so I could get some sort of like, some contact in a way. I was locked up in the house, it was, everybody was on lockdown, and it was just it was just really, really sad. And as she was saying, like, it was even sadder to see how how you realize how people really didn't care as much as they said they did. And that's very heartbreaking, is very sad. Like I pour so much into this sport personally that I feel like everybody else does. And then you realize that they don't. And it's very, very sad and heartbreaking. I don't know. And then like during the pandemic, like we got to see the true colors of a lot of people within the derby community. And that was that was also very, very, very sad. That was also
Those
very
dumpster fires, man, were
oh
crazy.
man, I mean,
Ooh.
yes.
You're like, what am I a part of? What am I?
Yes, like, but even like within like, smaller communities, not just Derby Hell in general, but with at a smaller scale. And it was very, very, it made it hard for me to see that Derby had still a chance to survive after the pandemic. But then there was Lethal. It was like, bitch, we're doing this. And I'm like, bet, you lead, I'll follow. Whatever you say, we're doing it. So we got into this new league, and we're trying to, like, that. This is what's making me, live right now. So.
Yes, that's so good. Do you have any words of encouragement for skaters who are watching, whether it be because they're not skating yet or because they just started skating? Anything that comes to mind. I mean, we all need words of encouragement.
I agree.
My best advice, and this is assuming that people are like looking for a way to get things started, whether it's personally or within their organization. If you watch Hell on Wheels, and that's the documentary about the split that led to the creation of flat track roller derby and Texas Roller Girls, and several members of the Texas Roller Girls were instrumental in the creation of the United Leagues Coalition, which eventually became the WFTDA. Although there's a lot you could walk away from there's a lot you could walk away with after watching that documentary, but the good thing that I would recommend people walk away with is the fact that this was a group of women who had a vision and they just kept working to achieve it. And that's something that any of us can do, whether it's for your own athletic development or it's a vision that you have for your league. Everybody's path won't look the same, but there is a path. And you can find out more information about the path that you need to take from a variety of places. I've drawn inspiration from so many different places when it comes to my leadership style, when it comes to the way that I train, when it comes to the way that I coach other people. And so it's like, even though a league in Mexico or South America or Ireland or Australia, they might not have the same path to formation and development as a league in Austin, Texas or Portland, Oregon, but there is a path. And it all really comes down to, one, do you have a vision? And two, are you committed enough to see it through? On the track or off the track, it comes down to, are you courageous enough to start? Are you strong enough to keep going? Do you have the tenacity it takes to bounce back whenever you face an obstacle or an injury? And do you have the patience to allow yourself to heal when you face that obstacle or injury, right? So
Well
those
said. Well said, Fran. Well said.
And I have a live audience. So that's the thing, right? And so when it comes to like, I have this vision for myself or for my organization, another thing that you can take away from Hell on Wheels and the story of the beginning of Flat Track is the fact that, one, it wasn't perfect. So you don't have to be perfect to start. Your organization doesn't have to be perfect to start. If you listen to our interview with Hydra, one of the things that you can kind of tell is she kind of expected people to come along and take the reins, and she kind of expected things to change. They didn't form something that they thought was perfect. They formed something that they thought was good enough to get them to point B. Mm-hmm. And they relied on people who took over leadership after that to get the sport to point C, D, E, E, F, blah, 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 blah. So even if your vision is for point Z, If you're like, I don't have the resources to get to point Z, but I feel like I have what it takes to get us to point B, C, and D, man, just start there and just go for it and see what it takes you, see where it takes you, because you never know, you know? And then the other thing that you can take from that is like, with that imperfection is the idea that like sometimes along the way, your journey might surprise you. Like you might develop faster than you expect. Your organization might grow faster than you expect. But if you start paying attention to the doubt and serve the doubt, then you never really get a chance to come face to face with the people who are cheering for you. You know, it's like if you're afraid to put out content or create an organization because of what all the haters are saying, like, what about your supporters? Like, you're gonna listen to your haters more than you listen to your supporters, and the supporters are out there, you know? So just like really get started. Like, don't be afraid, get started and just keep going. It might take longer than you think, but just like, don't quit, you know?
Don't quit. Mama raised no bitch. Yeah. I
I
mean,
Yeah. I
I
gotta watch Hell on Wheels, and we'll put that down in the description. And of course, we're gonna put your all's link in the description. So if you can send that to me later. I just want
Yeah.
to say that before I forget, because I'm gonna be all excited about. How about Spain?
I don't know if I can say anything else after you know, like such a great speech. I don't know. To me, having people that in a way have the same goals as you within the derby, your derby career or whatever it is that you're doing within the derby community, just stick with those people, because it's gonna make you feel like derby is still not dead, right? Like you can go for a trail skate, or you can go work on skills together. You can go have a beer, for God's sakes. Whatever it is that you need to be doing with those people that have your same goals and, you know, mindset and want to do the same thing that you want to do. Keep those people and keep skating, and things will fall back into place.
That is so important, because like sometimes we find ourselves in an organization, like I think there's two ways that big disagreements happen. One is when you have the same vision, but you have different ways that you think are good for going about it, right? But it's like if you have the same vision and the same goal, you can figure it out. You can reconcile those differences. But when you're with people who don't even have the same vision that you have, that's when stuff gets really tough. When you're like, I want to revive the sport, and other people are like, but we're scared to. That's when you might have to be like, okay, I might need to find some other people who want to revive the sport. But as long as you're with people who want to revive the sport, and just some people are like, I want to do it this way and I want to do it that way, okay, tough it out, because you found people who are on the same page as you. And on that note, don't forget that derby is a global community. If there's something that you can't figure out how to do, reach out to another league, even if it's in another place, even if you think they don't have any knowledge or any resources that can help you get to where you want to go. Just try, because ask. You never know. Like if you're like, you know, I'm having trouble with sponsorship, look at some of the bigger leagues that have good sponsors. Ask what they did. If you're having trouble with membership, look at some of the larger leagues and be like, what is your philosophy when it comes to recruitment and membership? How are you retaining people? If you're having trouble with training, reach out to somebody. There might be a coach that's willing to fly out to you or do a virtual session. A lot of coaches have started doing virtual sessions and offering information online. So just don't forget that derby is global. Whatever you're trying to do, there's somebody who can meet you on Zoom or fly out to you or write you an email that can help you out. So you got teammates everywhere, everywhere.
So good, man. So good. I love it. And what really inspired me right now is when you said, even if you don't have your A to Z, just at least do A to C, you know, like what you can do, the rest will fall into place, because that stops us. I don't know how I'm going to get funding. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how
you don't know that yet, but you need to find a way to get there. Like if you, that's the thing, like if you really want to get there, you will somehow, but you have to have that willing of doing it, you know, like it's not just like, well, I want to learn how to crochet. Okay, well, buy a hook, buy some yarn, watch a YouTube video, you know, like you really want to do it, you'll get
Yeah.
there. You're gonna do it regardless, but you have to want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, yeah. And it just happens. Like you're gonna
Right.
meet the people along the way, or the resources or whatever. They don't just say, you don't have this idea, and then everybody is like, oh, we support
Right.
it.
That happens. That absolutely happens.
Yes.
It happens sometimes, but there's times where like you're like you have the idea, so you buy like the yarn, and then somebody else comes and they're like, I do this, and you're like, really? Wow. And then you
Yeah.
start doing this together, and then somebody comes and they're like, and I do, you know. So there's those also, like there's time, like just recently, you know, there's seeds that I plant that I'm watching grow, and they're like slow. And then there's things that I like broadcast. I don't even know if they're gonna take root, and that shit just thrives. Like I was, you know, wanting another job. I already have two, but I wanted another one. And like, and I just mentioned something to a friend because she's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay here because I want to travel, and she's young and she doesn't have kids. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here then. Like, go. Because I want to go, you know, but I can't go. I'm kind of planted here for the moment. And so I'm like, go. And she's like, but I just started helping this lady and she's going to need help. And I was like, I'll help her. Just go. I just said that, like, just so that she would, like, I'll help her. It's fine. I'm not going anywhere. Go. You know, I kind of said it exactly like that, like sarcastically and bitterly, because I'm not going anywhere. But like, so then she messages me Saturday, and that seed was just broadcasted. Like she's like, hey, so I am gonna leave after this, like, because I'm also at a job that is grant funded. And so, you know, at the end of November, when this is over, I'm gonna leave. So she said to contact her if you're interested. And I'm like, wow. And then there's certain things that I purposely planned, and I'm freaking waiting, dude. And it's like watching water boil. I'm like, yeah, you know, any fucking day now.
Yeah.
So it, you know, even if you don't have the answers, like you said, you might have an aha moment, and all the support in the world is there, and you might have an aha moment, and it's just like, you know, it's those slow growers. Some things take a longer season, you know.
Right.
It's
But
just,
and I feel like Derby is one of those communities that is very open to help whatever it's needed. Like you might hit somebody that is like, well, I'm really busy right now. But the vast majority of people will be like, oh, okay, well, shoot me an email with what you need, and when I have a few seconds, I will write up whatever I can or whatever we have, and I will send it to you. It's very likely that people are going to help you within this community, whatever it is that you need.
Right. It's very resourceful, and there's so many go-getters in Derby that like we're used to spinning like so many plates that it's like, no, but yeah, I'll get, you know, like your family, if you're in the family of Derby, you're in, like, you've
in
got
a worldwide family.
Yeah, you've got your realtors, you've got your massage therapists, you've got like every, you know, like, oh no, yeah, one of my Derby sisters does this, and paralegals, and you know, servers, and all sorts, hairdressers. Everything. Like you're set, like in your community, like, you know, oh, my kids will watch your kids, it's fine, you know. It's like it's a very resourceful community. It really is. Like you've hit the jackpot, especially if you're moving, like you said, moving to a new city, and you want to make friends, and you need community, you need family. There's a place to go. Hopefully, there's some leagues where I've heard they're nightmares. You know what I mean? And I'm so sad for those people who have those experiences. And
I do too.
You know, we've said it on other shows, podcasts prior. If you're watching this and your league doesn't sound like what we're talking about, yes, it's gonna have its up and downs. But if you don't feel the love that we're talking about here, please find something closer. Please don't put up with that. Derby shouldn't hurt that bad. It's it's not that kind of pain. It's a different, you know, it's a different experience. And if you're feeling bullied, or you're feeling, you know, certain ways like that aren't healthy, Derby's tough. And yes, you get knocked down, but you shouldn't be put down.
But you should have somebody else giving your hand to help you get up. That's a different.
Yeah, it's totally different. So please compare and reach out, and look for other leagues that maybe run a little differently, because it should be for the most part, a positive experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
On that note, I would love to just thank you all for being on the show, and everybody who watches. Again, Mom McCartney and Olivia for helping me do the other stuff that's part of this whole podcast. And we'll see you next episode.
Yay.
Yay,
Thank you.
Thank you.